Welcome to the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Joy Taylor. Here's what this podcast is all about. It's an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the day's show, and there's a lot to get into in today's podcast.
Hello and welcome to Undisputed live from Los Angeles. Happy holidays to everybody at home. I'm Holly Saunders in for Joy Taylor today. And look who I am surrounded by. Greg Jennings, Chris Broussard, and Rob Parker. All of us have no friends or family who love us during the holidays, so that's why we're in here, I guess, right?
Right? Were you doing that?
Well, I don't know about that. I got friends and family that love me.
I'm so jacked about today. I rented a Corvette and I parked in Skip's spot. I just want you to know.
What color? Red? It has to be red if you do a Corvette, right?
Silver.
Right? That. If you're going to do it right.
Silver. I see whose side you're going to be on. Y'all color coordinated and everything.
This is great minds.
I'm going to have to watch for that.
That's right. It's the color of the season, Chris.
Exactly. I guess so.
Looking forward to all of your takes today and you guys talking over each other. I'm in a holiday spirit, so let's get right into it, guys. We'll start out with LeBron. Some NBA. His Cavs had a misstep against the Bucks earlier this week, but they bounced back last night with a 3-point win over the Bulls. LeBron finished with 34 points and 9 assists, and Kevin Love added 27 points. The Cavs have won 19 of their last 21 games and are now one game behind the Celtics for the top spot in the East. So, Chris, are the Cavs a legit threat to win it all?
Without question. Now, I still would pick Golden State. They're the definite favorite, but I'm giving the Cleveland 30 to 35% chance to win it all. I love what I see. LeBron James, there are those that are saying he's playing his best basketball of his career. I won't go that far because defensively he doesn't have the same athleticism, the same energy to get after it on every possession. But offensively, he's as good as ever. And what I love, we know he's shooting threes better than ever. What I love is that he's doing it more in a system. He's not dominating the ball as much. He's not over-dribbling as much as he's done throughout his career. He's getting it off back screens within the flow of the offense. That's enabling other people, particularly Kevin Love, to get off. Then the bench. Dwayne Wade owns that second unit, really is taking ownership of it. He's getting Kyle Korver involved, Channing Frye. I mean, their depth is better than ever. I think that they will be better than they were last year. And I know last year they weren't much of a team to beat against or to play against the Warriors. But this year with the bench, LeBron playing the way he is in the system, and Isaiah Thomas coming back, they're a threat.
Are they legit? Sure, they're legit. Could they win? Sure, they could win. Will they win? No way, no how.
No way?
No way. And
so what percent chance you giving them? No way is like
okay, I give them 5%. I mean, I just don't.
Wow.
From this standpoint.
Wow.
Last year during the finals, remember, LeBron James averaged a triple-double, which no one had ever done. So I can't believe LeBron James is going to play better than he did a year ago, okay? So that's my starting point. And they got swept in a 5-game sweep. I know they won one game. I call it a 5-game sweep. Yes, because they won one game, but they really
set a record in that game.
Okay, but in that one game they did win. But from that standpoint, so LeBron can't be any better. And then they lost Kyrie. Don't forget that Kyrie's a killer against Golden State. Averaged 29.4 points against them in the finals. The last 2 years, 28 points, shooting 47% from the field, could get to the basket at any time, had as many big games as LeBron, 40 points, 30, numerous 30-point games. So when I look at the end game, don't get me wrong, I hear all the other stuff about what they're doing, the bench, Love playing better. I hear all that, but I'm talking about end game. I don't think LeBron can play better, and I don't care, what Thomas brings to the table. It won't be what Kyrie has been able to do against Golden State. So unless there's barring an injury, I don't see how the Cavaliers beat Golden State.
Look at how I'm looking at you right now.
Like I'm crazy?
Yeah. You are crazy. You are absolutely outside of your mind. When you look, anytime you have LeBron James, you have a chance.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute. You say 5% chance. You say a 35% chance.
You giving them more than 35%?
I give them more than that. I think they are better because of their depth. When you add a Jeff Green, when you look at, forget even that. When you look at the usage of their bench, early, often, the productivity that they are getting from their bench players, the quality that they're getting, it is huge. That is a momentum builder going into the playoffs, part way going against a team like Golden State, who uses their bench, who utilize their bench, who gets a ton of production from their bench. So when I look at the Cleveland Cavaliers and I pair them and I match them up against Golden State, I'm not seeing a Golden State team that is as great as they were last year.
Well, they got injuries right now. You can't.
Yeah, they're still winning. I understand that. But even when they were all together, they do not look as good as they were last year. I don't think there is a fear factor that took place last year of the Kevin Durant being new, being an assassin, and all these different elements that played into last year and their success. They're not there. They've won. There's a complacency that comes once you win.
But when you bring up LeBron and the idea that, well, if you have LeBron, you're going to win, it's the reason he called him the FOFOTE, the finals failure of all time. F-F-O-A-T.
You say that like everybody calls him the FOFOTE.
I had no idea
You're the only person on earth.
Only because he's lost 5 NBA. He's lost the most of any player who's won an MVP in NBA history. He's 3 and 5. Those are facts.
I tell you what.
Where I agree with you, obviously, they got a chance. But what do you say? It's like 50-50, or they might be the favorites?
I'm not saying it's 50-50, but it's over 40% chance. But you talk about this, what do you call them?
The FOFOTE. F-F-O-A-T.
You tell me another player.
Failure
of all time.
You tell me another player that wouldn't be willing to be titled that and have the opportunity to get to the finals 7 consecutive years.
It won't be that great if he goes too much.
It doesn't matter for FOFOTE, but Jerry West lost more finals than
Jerry
LeBron.
West didn't win an MVP. I'm talking about of guys who have won an MVP. He's lost more times than anybody. Magic and Kareem lost 4. He's lost 5.
Some guys
all
won
had better
MVPs that
teams.
never won titles, though.
Yeah.
So Steve Nash never even got to the finals. So I don't know about FOFOTE.
They all had better supporting cast around them.
There we go.
LeBron does. I'm with you, but
it's truth.
He does have a good supporting cast. Let's stop bashing. In Miami, they had the most talented team all 4 years.
And they only won twice.
I'm not saying in Miami they didn't.
We can't always bash the
his years in
cast.
Cleveland, with the exception of last year and the year before, it doesn't matter. He went with no one.
That was tremendous.
I mean, and we didn't even expect that to take place. He took down a Detroit Pistons team, a Celtic. I mean, he dismantled teams. Like, give the man some credit now, Mr. Detroit.
I'm with you. I think you're going a little too high saying that it's almost a pick-em between the Cavs and Golden State. You know, I mean, Golden State is coasting. They don't even want to win 70 games.
No.
You're right. Look, repeating is tough. That's why I do give the Cavs a much better chance than they had last year. You know, I'm giving some other teams in the West, a shot at beating the Warriors because it is tough to repeat. Only a handful of superstars have repeated since Magic Johnson.
But you're watching a dynasty. When you look at that team, you're looking at a dynasty. This reminds me of the 49ers when they were winning all those championships, the Cowboys when they won 3 out of 4, the Yankees when they won 4 out of 5. This is what this team is. We know they gave up that one championship when they were up 3-1 and they wound up losing it. But look at what the body of work, what they've done.
Absolutely.
They're so good. They're going to go to the NBA Finals again. I just don't see what stops them other than some sort of major injury just by the pieces part. And you're right. They don't need to. When they set the record that year, that probably was a mistake. A lot of people questioned it.
I wouldn't say
they would have, because they would have, most likely they would have won it if not for Draymond's suspension. So I don't think it was a mistake. I don't think they weren't playing a ton of minutes. A lot of people say that. They weren't playing a ton of minutes that year. Mentally, it got draining the last week or so.
We only even consider it being a mistake because they didn't win it. Had they won it, we're not even talking about. But the only problem is, Greg, and that you're right. But the thing is, they hadn't lost 2 games in a row all year, and they lose 3 in a row. So you got to say to yourself, maybe it was the extra energy that they couldn't close it out. Because for them to lose 3 in a row after not losing 3 in a row all year, and 2 of those losses came at home.
You do have to give your nemesis some credit, LeBron. I mean, he was huge, and Kyrie. Both of them. I mean, both were huge. Look, Isaiah is not Kyrie. But he's going to give you some things. He's going to give you some production like Kyrie. Watch that.
Most importantly, will Fafote be trending?
That
By the end of the show. Hashtag
It hadn't trended
Fafote,
for
everybody.
years.
Yeah, there we go. I'm
Everybody.
still throw it out there.
No.
No mercy.
What do you say we stay with the Cleveland Cavaliers? Cleveland fans had to be happy to see this before last night's game. Guys, take a look. Isaiah Thomas was in full uniform and the pregame layup line for the first time since being traded to the Cavs in the offseason. Isaiah didn't play last night, and Ty Lue said he won't play on Christmas against the Warriors, but he is expected to return in early January. So take a listen to a very excited Isaiah after the game.
It was everything. I mean, when I was out there in warm-ups, it just felt like I was a rookie again, like my first game. I haven't been in an arena like that where you're warming up, you're with teammates. Like, that's so new to me right now because I've been down since May. So just being out there, it put a smile on my face. Like, it was everything for me to just put a jersey on and feel like I was part of the team. And that day's coming sooner rather than later, though, that I'll be playing, and I can't wait.
All right, so you heard that. Now, Rob, I'll ask you, are you worried about Isaiah's fit in the lineup? Number 1 and 2, is your Corvette a drop top?
Yeah, it is a drop top. I'm going to bring it back after the show. But, yeah, you know what? You do have to worry about whenever you bring in a star player to fit in with the other guys. He's not a complimentary player where you just know your role and do your thing. He's out wanting to get his. Mm-hmm. So now you got to try to figure that out. LeBron has to figure it out because they haven't played together at all and where he fits in. And then the other problem I think that might just be an issue is that he has such a chip on his shoulder. He was so burnt by, being dealt by the Celtics. He's got something to prove. And he talked a big game all offseason when he was injured about what he's going to do or whatnot. So you want him to come in but not go crazy, Greg, because that's not what they really need him to do. And you don't want him to think that he has to go out and win it all on his own and start doing things that's unnecessary with that team to fit in. So I think it's going to be an adjustment. I think the team will have some missteps, ups and downs, but ultimately he'll fit in with those guys.
To your point, he's a free agent this summer. He has never gotten paid. This is the guy that was 5th in MVP voting last year, and he's making $6 to $7 million a year.
Was set to get paid, right?
Yeah, so he knows he has to play to earn a max contract. Now, if he helps Cleveland win a championship, then even if he's not putting up huge numbers, I think he'll get paid. But that's something to watch. I'm with you. There will be missteps. Their starting schedule in January. They start with a 5-game road trip. They're at Boston. They'll beat Orlando, Minnesota, Toronto, and Indiana. Those are 4 pretty good teams. And then their next game is against Golden State at home. So they, in addition to working Isaiah in, if he's back, then you're going to be going against some tough teams. So I think you'll see some losses. Some people will panic and say, "Oh, they don't need him. He's not fitting in."
Right?
Exactly. But they'll work it out over time. Here's the biggest thing to me with bringing Isaiah back. Kevin Love is playing the best basketball of his career. Now, some of that's that they moved him to center, and I think that's going to help them against Golden State, that he's a center. He'll go outside and shoot threes and all that. But he also knows mentally, I'm the second option. And he's the definitive second option for the first time since he's been in Cleveland. Remember,
not when Isaiah gets back.
Well, I think they're going to have to work that out. Because, and it has to be organic. I don't think you need to say you're the second option, you're the third option or whatever. But it's tough being that third option with LeBron. Remember Chris Bosh in Miami, he basically became a glorified role player. Last year or the previous 3 years, when Kyrie was the second guy, Love was never the same, wasn't the same player. So I think Love is the better second option. I think Isaiah can get his without being a quote-unquote option. He gets to the line a ton. He can penetrate. He obviously can shoot the 3. But I think they have to figure out, we have to keep Kevin Love playing the way he is. Isaiah will get his because he's so good and athletic. But let's keep Love kind of, at least subconsciously, as that second option to LeBron.
I agree with both of you. I think when you add a piece like Isaiah Thomas, a ball-dominating point guard, it's going to be intriguing to see not only how he fits and how they fit him in, but my attention immediately goes to Tyronn Lue. I want to see how great of a coach you really are. Or is this really just LeBron coaching and managing everything? Because it's been out when you have a guy who can be as impactful as a Isaiah Thomas, a la Chris Paul in the Houston Rockets. What Mike D'Antoni did, he had a strategic game plan going into that, understanding I got 2 all-stars, all-NBA type point guards. How can I make this work? You know what? I can have the ball in their hands for 48 straight minutes. I have the luxury of that. He was smart about it in staggering their minutes and playing mostly Chris Paul with the second unit when he first got acclimated. What I would like to see with Cleveland and Tyronn Lue is integrate him in a way to where he's in that second unit. Now, with that being said, D. Wade has been very effective with that second unit coming off the bench.
But we just saw in OKC with those 3 guys how somebody feels out of place, and it hasn't worked. Right?
But with OKC,
they're not nearly as good as
I think it's
completely.
I think it's completely different with OKC because when you look at a Carmelo Anthony, you look at a player who's unwilling to really say, you know what, I'm not as great as I once was. I need to take a step back.
Guys don't do that.
Well,
exactly.
And they don't have a facilitator like
Correct.
LeBron. I mean, that's the thing. Even Westbrook, he gets a lot of assists, but obviously he's not passing the ball, moving the ball.
But
like
there's
LeBron
also
does.
a little thing about Isaiah Thomas and the postseason, the reason that he became available. You know, I mean, he had a great regular season. He was exposed in the playoffs, and you know when you're a smaller guy, yeah, he wasn't the same guy.
He led them to the conference finals.
No, I got that. But
Didn't
I'm just saying,
he have a 50-something point game?
But he
that's
was
exposed in
yeah,
Detroit.
He was exposed from the standpoint.
I see where you're going.
Yeah, from the standpoint that I just thought that, and he was banged up. Don't get me wrong, but defensively, when you're a smaller guy, we've seen it in the postseason with guys. During the regular season, it plays just fine. Then you get to the postseason, and your size does matter. That's why the Celtics decided to make a move. I don't think that they really believed that they could win with Isaiah being the guy, and they got a chance to get Kyrie. Kyrie wants out, so you make the switch. And I think that's where something else that the Cavs are going to look at and see where exactly he fits in and whether or not he's a postseason liability.
See, I think where he fits in is, you have to integrate him in a way to where he doesn't just come right in and he's the focal point. I don't think he can do that.
That ain't going to happen with LeBron.
He won't be the focal point.
But here's the thing. This is why you love LeBron James. Because to your point, they will take a step back. They will have some miscues. They will have some losses that they endure. But once LeBron James identifies, you know what do I need to now become for us to change the narrative and get wins out of this situation and make everybody feel comfortable. He has the ability to do those things like no other player we've seen do it. What I think IT brings to the table that will help, and I agree with you, Kevin Love has to remain a focal point because it keeps him active on the defensive end. It keeps him active on the glass.
I'm not buying it.
Their pick and roll offense with IT and Kevin Love will be huge.
I'm not buying that Isaiah Thomas is cool with Kevin Love being the second option. I don't care what's happened to this point. You just said it. He has a big payday that's there. He's going to get his. He knows he needs certain numbers, especially Chris coming off the injury. So I don't think that he's going to buy into I'll be the third option. I'll clean up the other stuff and get points when off of missed shots and all that kind of stuff. He's going to want to be a part of the offense.
The thing is this: Love's numbers are up from last year. They're the highest they've been as a Cavs. He's actually taking fewer shots now than he was last season. So what has gone up is his efficiency. He's shooting 47, almost 48% from the floor. That's by far a career high. Even in Minnesota when he was great, he's never been an efficient scorer. It was always around 43, 44%. So that is huge. So Isaiah may get the second most shots a game. But Love may end up being the more efficient player and the second leading scorer.
I got you. I'm just saying Isaiah's not going into a free agent year going to settle for being third banana.
If he averages,
I don't believe it.
17 points and they either win a championship or push Golden State to 7 games or even a tough 6, that could help him on the market.
And
too.
if he scores 15 and they don't win a championship, that ain't going to help him on the market.
See, I think you're looking at it totally wrong because people will identify he's playing with LeBron James. Number one. So you're not going to be you're not going to be the same exact player that you once were when the offense was run through you. You had the ball in your hands 80% of the time in Boston.
Kyrie scored 29 points against the Warriors.
We all know what kind of role Kyrie played.
With LeBron.
He was the closer.
Okay.
And I believe that if given he comes back healthy and he still has the assassin ability to make three-pointers and be as effective as he was on the offensive side of the ball, he can still be a closer for them.
He can be a closer.
He can definitely be he can play that Kyrie role. It'll look different, but he can play that role.
They need, the bottom line is this, and we talked about their chance of beating Golden State earlier. They need Isaiah to beat Golden State. I mean, however long it takes, 3-4 weeks, I don't think they have much of a shot without him. With him, if it works even better than we think, I think they have a chance.
There's no doubt that they need him. He's replacing Kyrie.
Exactly. You can't just lose Kyrie.
Can't lose Kyrie and then think like you could win without it. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He is the missing piece that they need to play a certain way in order to even have a shot to win.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing better defense this year as well, too. So, I mean, that's going to play into it also.
You guys have got the NBA down. You are so much more astute than you look, Rob.
Thank you.
You
didn't know that.
Is that a compliment?
I know, right?
Sure.
Holly, that's all right. We'll talk during the break.
I like this guy already, and I like that every time he's talking, you're over here writing.
Yeah,
I never know what's going to come up
You're
next.
grilled, too. Like, you notice when you're talking, you just sitting there like,
because I'm waiting on Rob to say something foolish.
But
That's
I
what we
need,
want.
you looking at me like that, too. Like, I'm like, dang, dude, me mugging me.
No mercy.
The Rockets have the best record in the NBA and a half-game lead over the Warriors in the West. They beat Golden State by 1 back on opening night and face them 2 more times next month. Now, Houston's general manager, Daryl Morey, said yesterday that the Warriors are always on their minds. Check it out.
I think I'm not supposed to say that, but I mean, we're basically obsessed with how do we beat the Warriors, and you know, we don't even deserve to say we don't deserve to be able to even say that. Last year, the Spurs knocked us off. So we're very worried about the Spurs. They always are, you know, one step ahead of every organization and guard us better than anyone. But we know that, you know, it's like we calculated, it's like 90% if we're going to win a title, we've got to obviously beat the Warriors at some point. And so we're extremely focused on that. And a lot of our signings and, you know, what we do during the year is based on that.
Obsessed much? After hearing that, Chris, I'll ask you, the Rockets are hot right now, but so are the Cavs. So who has a better chance to beat Golden State, the Cavs or Rockets?
Look, I'm all in on the Rockets. I really think they're a very good team. I'm giving them a shot. I've said I think they have about a 30% chance of beating Golden State.
That's a shot?
30%?
Yeah.
Yeah. At the beginning of the year, it was about 2%, you know, if that. I mean, it was 0, really. I'm giving Cleveland a slightly better chance because, obviously, you got the best player in the world, and you got some good pieces around him. My question mark about the Rockets, because what I see on the court, I love. The three-point shooting. Now they're defending. They got Chris Paul and P.J. Tucker and Bob Moute and Ariza, some good defenders out there. I like everything I see on the court. What I'm questioning is James Harden and Chris Paul in the clutch. I'm not saying they can't get it done, but Harden has been horrible in these clutch moments.
I'm glad you brought this up.
Yeah, I mean, last year, Game 6 against the Spurs just disappeared. Chris Paul has had some good moments in the playoffs in the clutch, but he's had some really bad ones, especially lately. Last year, Utah Game 7, I think 13 points. He had been money throughout the entire series. And obviously, you can go back a few years to Oklahoma City in the clutch, blowing a game there. So that's my question. Now, will their, you know, presence bolster each one of them? Like, will having Chris Paul there help Harden? Will having Harden help Chris mentally when they're in the playoffs? Hopefully. But right now, that's my only question. But I like them. I'm giving them a shot. But the Cavs, I think, have a better chance.
I'm not buying into them at all. Regular season team, win all the games you want. you have two guys, you just brought it up, Harden and Paul. They are postseason poison. That's what they are, postseason poison. And when it's big time for the big wins and the big games, I saw Harden in 2012 play unbelievable until they got.
He was a baby at that time.
But still, last year in Game 6, 2 for 11, and I think he only shot twice in the first half or whatever. He was like a no-show. And then you look at Chris Paul. Remember last year, had the big Game 6 in Utah, right, to force a Game 7 back in L.A., and then a stinker for Game 7. Yep. So the history is against them, and even in their coaches,
Mike
D'Antoni, with what they were able to do with the Suns. They could never get over the hump, never win. So when you put those three guys together in Houston, you can win all the regular season games you want. You could score all the points you want, knock down all the threes you want. In the postseason, I'm not buying them. No way, no how do I expect the Rockets to knock off the Warriors.
Boy.
You want to follow that up?
Absolutely. I'm a LeBron fan, so my favorite is the Cavs to knock off the
I'm
Warriors.
not a fan at all. I'm a reporter.
I got you. I'm a fan, too. That's what separates the great ones.
And a hater. You
know what I mean? But I like this Rockets team. I like what they're able to do. And I'm going to tell you why I like the Rockets. It's not because of the addition of Chris Paul. It's P.J. Tucker for me. He brings a different mentality on the other side of the playing court defensively. When you have an extra body that you can throw at a Kevin Durant or a Steph Curry or whomever, you have that guy who can play really 1 through 4 really tough in P.J. Tucker. He provides that for you.
So P.J. Tucker is going to be the difference on how they win? I'd rather have Chris Tucker at this point.
I'm telling you from a defensive standpoint, this is why they have been better defensively, because of a guy like that. You bring in a guy who's sound on that side of the ball and who can knock down the three-pointer as well.
But are you going to ignore the history? You going to ignore the history of those the big guys?
Forget history. You got another guy in Trevor Ariza who you can throw at Durant. They're very versatile. They can shoot with they can shoot with the Warriors. They can score. You have to be able to outscore the Warriors team. And when you look at this Houston Rockets roster and the productivity that they get from beyond the arc, they can outscore this Warriors team. Now, they don't have better shooters across the board, but if they all are on, they can easily knock, I shouldn't say easily, they can knock this Warriors team off. They have a chance. And what I like about what Maury said was he didn't just overlook the Spurs.
That's right.
He said, now, we don't even have the right to say that because we got knocked off by the Spurs. So he recognized the path that they have to take to get there, which is why I like the Cavs knocking them off. Because going through, if the Warriors have to play the Spurs, the Rockets, the Timberwolves, any of these teams consecutive.
Heck, first round, they might get New Orleans with the Twin
Any
Towers.
of these teams back-to-back series, by the time they get to Cleveland in the finals,
Cleveland had a cakewalk last year, and they got swept in 5 games.
They did. They didn't get. What's up with this sweeping in 5 games?
Well, because the one game they won, they shouldn't have won.
That's Rob speak. That's Rob speak.
Right.
You know,
that's the way he views it.
5-game sweeps, all that stuff. This is what I'll say about D'Antoni. You brought up D'Antoni. His history, he's a great coach when he has the players that fit into his system. But he's always been a guy with a lack of attention to detail. You look at their Suns series against the Spurs back in the day. They was some great series, but it was always a blown rotation, a turnover at the wrong time, lack of executions, players getting off the bench, when there's a scrum, but the Spurs players stay. That's lack of attention to detail, because the Spurs don't do that. It's like Belichick. It was like Pittsburgh and New England last week. Same thing. One coaching staff focuses and emphasizes on these things.
But is that really D'Antoni? Can we really throw all that on D'Antoni?
A lot, yeah.
Even last year, the lack of productivity that he got from James Harden against the Spurs in that final game.
Well, not that, but I'm just saying. I'm gonna get around. I'm just saying that's what people look at. That's the question you have in your mind. Where I will give D'Antoni the benefit of the doubt is that he's never been a defensive coach either. He's never had really good defensive teams, and this year he actually has a good defensive team. So maybe it will make the changes even in the playoffs to get them over the hump.
Because he had some great Suns teams, and they could never get there. They used to win 60 games a year, right? And everybody say, oh, this is it. The Suns are going to get there, and they never got there. So when you put him and the other and Paul and Chris Paul and James Harden together, I have to believe it. I have to see it to believe it, because I just don't believe. The Warriors' time will come when they'll get knocked off,
they look
but
phenomenal.
it ain't going to be it ain't going to be by the Rockets.
You will admit they look phenomenal right now.
But the regular season, you know that in the NBA, it's different. A lot of teams win a lot of games during the regular season.
You never believe till they do it.
You know what I don't like? You know what I don't like, really quick? When we talk about the importance of the playoffs and act as if the regular season means absolutely nothing, because if they were struggling like the OKC Thunder right now, we would be saying, this is not going to work. I didn't think it would work in the beginning.
All I know is last year LeBron and them didn't want the number 1 seed, and you know what? They went to the final.
They look
Greg
bad,
shushed me. That's what he did.
You can't shush the host.
I didn't shush you.
He had a point to make.
I got to get my little points across.
I hear you.
No mercy.
Well, we cannot wait for the huge Christmas Eve game in Dallas. Catch all the action Sunday afternoon on Fox. We're now joined by Super Bowl champion Seth Joyner. Seth, we're so glad to have you here, and so glad that you brought a real watch to the
Oh, wow.
You want to trade? You want to trade?
Yeah, and give me $400 and I'll give you my watch.
What did you say yours came with? A bowl of chili?
With a bowl of chili and a full tank of gas.
You know, if you give me
That's a Detroit special.
if you give me the little square candies, I'll
It's a deal.
give you 6 of them.
It's a deal. Seth, you were talking about all the fire subjects, you call them, that the guys have been weighing in on. So we'll give you your own here. Will the surging Cowboys keep rolling against the Seahawks?
You know, they should. They should roll against the Seahawks, because the Seahawks have just been decimated. But I think Zeke, you know, coming back, what he's done is he's just thrown some gas on the fire. I mean, I read somewhere he's talking about, oh, you know, I think I can rush for 200 yards. I'm like, are you kidding? You don't want to wake up a sleeping giant like the Seattle Seahawks. That defense is still formidable. They may be missing some people, but the one thing that they can do is they can stop the run, you know, and that's the key to the Dallas Cowboys. We're all seeing that. You know, you can talk about Dak and you can talk about their offensive line. You can talk about a whole bunch of things. But the one thing that we learned, and I've been saying ever since Zeke got to Dallas, is that this whole offense is predicated on what what Zeke brings to the table. It even affects the defensive side of the ball, because when they're ahead, now that defense gets to rolling. But if they're even or they're behind, you know, that defense is suspect. So it's going to be interesting to see what Seattle team shows up in Dallas this week. But I think, you know, they just threw some gas on the fire, and, you know, Dallas is going to be playing for their playoff life. I don't think they're going to make it. I think the 2 wild card teams are probably going to come out of the South.
Yeah, I like Dallas in this game. I think they're going to be so jacked up to have their guy back. Like you said, they know he's the engine, both offensively and defensively. We know defensively with Sean Lee back, they've been playing much better on that end. I'm with you on Zeke talking about 200 yards. He told Eric Dickerson that. I do, though, think he's going to have a huge game. I think physically he's going to be totally refreshed, and after working off the rust early, I think he's going to have a huge game, because we know he's running with a chip on his shoulder. Mentally, he's going to be fresher and in a better place than he was throughout the early part of the season. The thing I'm wondering, though, is Seattle, does that loss last week and all of the bickering and things that came out of that, does that work as something that motivates them and they come out and have a great game? Or does it kind of, you know, take away from them, and do they come out flat? That's the one thing I'm wondering about with the Seahawks.
It's challenging their manhood.
Yeah.
In the game of football, when you're talking about a defense, a storied defense like this defense, you've essentially, by telling Eric Dickerson that you're going to rush for 200 yards, you've challenged their manhood. And look at the can that you open up. I don't care how fresh he is, how slim he is, how much better shape he's in. He started something. I mean, listen, they may go 8-man box. They may go 9-man box, because Dallas really don't have anybody that can beat you down the field.
But Seattle, because of how badly their defense looked, that's what gave them the open in the field that confident to be able to say those things about that defense, which is a storied defense. But I don't want to say that that defense has gotten old before our eyes, but I think they moved the practice facility to the cemetery because it's just an older group now, and that group is not the same Legion of Boom.
Injured too.
Right, and injured too, but it's been together for a long time, and it's not the same group. I don't see how I would be surprised if Dallas loses this game. I don't know how many yards he's going to get. I don't know how much Seattle's going to take exception to Zeke's comments, but I think that Dallas should win.
I mean, the more we talk about it, the more I want to say that Seattle is going to shock everybody. But I'm gonna side with Dallas. But for the sake of argument, for argument's sake, Seattle has pride. And to your point, when you talk about a team, I don't care if you come into my house and you see my wife and I and my kids and I, we're arguing, we're bickering. You say something about us, we got a problem now. All what we're talking about, we throw that to the back burner. Our focus now is you. You have become our foe. And so when I look at the Seattle Seahawks, everybody watched what took place with them last week. Everybody saw what Todd Gurley did to them out of the backfield, running the ball, and in the passing game.
They were demolished.
Completely obliterated that defense. When you look at the Dallas Cowboys, that's what they want to do. That's what they have to do to win. They have to run the ball. They have to get the ball to Ezekiel Elliott outside the tackles, in the screen game, check down situations, get him against those linebackers and Bobby Wagner and those guys and see if they can win that way. Other than that, they're not going to just pass the ball all over this secondary.
But the question would be, I get it. Seattle might want to do something about it, but can they? Given the age and given the injuries, can that defense really have a say?
I'm not buying the age. I think the step back for Seattle has strictly been a defensive issue. You know, when you lose a guy like Cam and you lose a guy like Richard Sherman, that's a big deal. You know, the other guys aren't 100% healthy, but the more we talk about it, the more I'm going the other direction.
Exactly.
I'm taking Seattle because I've seen it too many times. I've seen this team get counted out. I've seen this team, you know, where everybody looks at them and says, you know what, they're old, they're the Legion of they're not the Legion of Boom anymore. They're Legion of Doom.
The Legion of AARP.
You know? So every single time that happens, what do? They rise up, man, because these guys have pride in themselves. And there's just no way in the world that they're going to go into Dallas and lay an egg. I don't see it happening Have you ever seen Seattle get worked 2 weeks in a row?
But that's the beginning of the end. That's what happens normally. When you usually fall off, it's bad.
I don't think they'll get worked. I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be a close game, but I think Dallas will edge them out because I get it with the pride, the motivation. They had to have motivation last week. I mean, and they're still in the playoff hunt, but you really were in the playoff hunt a week ago, and we saw what happened to him in the run game too. Wagner, is he going to be, you know, close to 100%? No. So I think they can want it all they want, and I think it'll be tough and it'll be close. But I think in the end, listen, Dallas will edge.
If they can figure out how to keep that game close, I'm telling you, to me, that is the key to beating Dallas. They become a whole different animal when they get the lead on you. When they get the lead on you, now all of a sudden, DeMarcus Lawrence, all these guys on the defense, they start to really thrive. But when the game is close, it's just a different defense. Listen,
that game was in Seattle. I might buy into that, not in Dallas.
Okay. See, and I look at it from a completely different perspective. When I look at this game and I say, okay, both teams, one team can't run the ball, the other team can in Dallas. But Seattle's not going to allow you to just run all over them, specifically after what took place last week. Then it becomes a game of who has the better quarterback? Who's going to make the better decisions there? Who has the advantage there? And it's clear cut.
Did you watch Russell Wilson last week?
No, I see. Here you go. You want to just?
Yeah, but he's not.
No, it is clear cut. But I'm talking about he played. He's a better quarterback. He played poorly last week.
Listen, Dallas cannot rush the passer the way the LA Rams can rush the passer.
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying?
But with that offensive line, you don't have to be the most stout defensive line.
You don't have to be the most stout defensive line. But the issue is that, listen, Russell Wilson He's not going to play 2 bad games in a row either, okay? That's just not going to happen.
We were just talking about him in the MVP race.
And if you take both running games away, okay, who do you trust to throw the ball 40 plus more times?
But you think they taking Dallas's running game away? He ain't going for 200, but I think he's going to have some success on the ground.
Listen, if they can keep him in the 70 to 75 yard range, okay, now they can force the issue. Because then if they get one or two scores, they get a little bit of a lead, and I'm just saying you got to keep him under control. You know, when he's running the ball effectively, it opens up their entire offense. If you can keep the book closed, if you can keep the playbook closed, now you got a chance to beat them. But if he's just running roughshod all over the place, they're dumping screens to him, you've got to control one phase of the game from a defensive perspective. You've got to make Dallas one-dimensional. When you make him one-dimensional, the last 6 games, Dak has shown that he can't put this team on his shoulders. It's very evident to everybody that this team runs through Zeke. And you want to know, in closing, what's going to be really interesting is when both of these guys' contracts is up. In a quarterback-driven league, and Zeke is the guy that pushes this team forward, how's that going to play out when you try to give that quarterback $20 million?
They're going to sign the quarterback because running backs don't last long. That's the problem.
Man, that is such a fallacy.
Yeah.
I wish we had a whole other segment to talk about that.
That's how it is now.
I get that.
They don't even draft running backs high anymore.
I get that. But, you know, when you're going to pay a quarterback $20 million and that's going to be the going rate across the board, that means you now have to validate why that guy gets paid that much.
I get it.
And then the other guy, you got to devalue him. But if you look at all the teams that are prominent in the NFL picture of playoff, look at who they got at running back. They got elite guys running the ball. But the narrative will always be also quarterback-driven league. It's a passing league. You know, how many guys can put it up 40, 50 times a game and be successful? 2, in my opinion, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. The rest of them, they got to have a running game to succeed.
See, when we get back to the game and we look at the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott versus Russell Wilson, what makes Dak Prescott better in this situation is the fact that he has Ezekiel Elliott on the football field. Regardless if that running game is effective or not, Dak Prescott with Ezekiel Elliott in the backfield with him has proven to be better. He's more calm. He doesn't, to your point, he's not carrying the load by himself.
It's called play action pass.
You're right. He has that, exactly. He has that defense in a bind to where now it opens up everything. It makes the game simplified more for him, easier for him. Everything is clear cut because you got to respect the run, especially when you got that guy in the backfield.
When Dak takes the ball and he sticks it out like that, the safeties freeze, the linebackers freeze, even the pass rush freezes because they got to respect the fact that this guy can take it to the house every single time that he touches it. When you take that away, now all of a sudden they're sticking it out there. And I'm talking about taking it away to the point where you minimize his effectiveness. I'm not saying you can shut this guy down, but you minimize his effectiveness. When you minimize his effectiveness and he sticks that ball out, ain't nobody believing that. That's like a team trying to run play action pass without having proven that you can run it first.
Right, you're not afraid of it.
Right.
Not afraid of it.
I got to wrap us up. But Seth, thanks for joining our Legion of ARP. That's exactly what I'm surrounded by right now. Happy holidays to you and yours.
Same
Thanks
to you
for the
guys.
time.
No mercy.
Patriots are heavy favorites to win the AFC and control their own destiny for home field advantage. If New England beats the Bills on Sunday, they will clinch the #1 seed in the AFC. But despite being a huge favorite, Tom Brady has struggled recently, throwing 4 interceptions and only 2 touchdowns in their last 3 games. So to break this down, we're once again joined by Jason McIntyre. You decided to stick around?
I decided to. How could I pass up with these handsome, dapper gentlemen?
What do you want?
Looking sharp. But listen, guys, I got to say, I definitely do not believe the Patriots are a lock to get out of the AFC. Listen, where do you want to start with? Tom Brady, the 40-year-old guy showing his age? I found this great stat. So Brady has thrown interceptions in 4 straight games. That is the first time he's done that since 2013. This is a guy who's showing his age. Meanwhile, his former backup, Jimmy Garoppolo, is the talk of the league. How do you think that's eating at Brady, right? So not only do you have the Garoppolo-Brady angle, but how about this one? I don't know if you guys just read this. It was on Pro Football Talk. But there is divide in the Patriots locker room over how to handle Brady's trainer, his spiritual guru, the Boston Magazine.
Caretaker.
He
The
called him a
caretaker.
snake
There it
oil
is.
salesman. I mean, this guy's very
You
shady.
knew it.
I don't want to go into too much, but listen, Chris, there is some divide over who should they listen to. Brady's trainer, who he now works with 20 players on the team, or Bill Belichick's coaches. And listen, Greg, you were in a locker room. As an outsider, I talked to a lot of coaches around here. The number one thing NFL coaches do not want is drama.
Yeah,
and we're talking about major drama with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady's guy, who is the first guy he hugs when he comes off the field. And I believe this is going to drive a wedge between that team. I think look out this weekend against Buffalo, and certainly in the playoffs, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, to answer the question, I don't think they're a lock to represent the AFC. I think they're the favorite. I don't think they're a lock. But more touching on that point with the guru or the caretaker, however you want to look at it. When it comes to outside sources or outside trainers or specialists, let's call them, and they start impeding on a conditioning coach, strength and conditioning coach territory, trainer's territory, that becomes problematic. I was in a situation where in Minnesota, a guy by the name of Dr. Josh Sandell, very influential, he's an ortho. He has a practice outside of the facility. He works with a ton of guys across the league. And a lot of the guys were on our days off, and throughout the week, we're going over there, we're getting treatment, we're getting rehabbed by Dr. Josh, as he's known. The training staff finds out about this, and it's almost as though you don't really want to say, well, Dr. Josh, why do you have this? Or Dr. Josh, you don't even want to bring his name up.
It's
because
like it's cheating on them, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's how they treat it.
Exactly. Trainers take that very seriously.
Yes.
What the Vikings ended up doing, instead of fighting it, because so many players were going over there, they brought him on board. They brought him in-house. Now they can manage
him.
Exactly. They can micromanage him in a sense to where they have an eye on who we're sending to you, who you should be working with, versus who we want you to work with and who we want to work with solely. So with this being a locker room divide, this is huge.
And you know why it's huge? Because normally you wouldn't have made this move during the season. You could do it after the season. For Bill Belichick to feel like, no, it stops right now, we're done with it, you can't be here, tells you, because you don't want to upset Tom Brady. He's playing well, MVP type season. You're winning football games, right? You got the top seed in the AFC, all this other stuff one of the up there with Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to upset the apple cart over some guru caretaker. So for him to feel like he had to do something with this guy now during the season tells you it's a problem.
Nah, I'm with you. I think this is – look, I do have the Patriots as a favorite. I think you totally understated how well Tom Brady's playing. He's going to be the MVP.
No, he's not.
It's a weak year for MVPs.
In
By default?
He's tied for second in the league in passer rating. 28 TDs, 7 interceptions. You act like he's just falling apart.
If Carson Wentz was still playing, would he be the MVP?
This is not a
Wentz
top
would
five
be the
season
MVP,
Brady's
but
ever had.
He's
Not
the
even
greatest
close.
quarterback of all time.
He's had great seasons.
Okay,
This isn't
he's
one
not
of
a
them.
top 5. Maybe it's his 6th or 7th, whatever. But that's good enough. But this is an issue. There's no doubt about it. And I think the reason they couldn't do what Minnesota did, and they obviously has an office in the building and all that. They tried, apparently. He's so different, though. He's this alternative medicine guy. You know what I mean? His advice is so different from what the traditional strength and conditioning coaches are giving him that's what the problem is. And this report said that he badmouthed Belichick
That's what I'm saying.
to the players. I don't even know. I don't care how tight you are with Tom Brady. I don't know how in the world you could go in there and badmouth Belichick to these players.
Yep.
That's like bad-mouthing Greg Popovich in San Antonio. You cannot do that. If he did that, if that's true, that is a huge problem.
Yeah,
so that could work.
These coaches, and Greg, you know this, they're control freaks. They like to control every
Everything.
single thing. That's why Nick Saban did not work in the NFL. He tried to come in and control the players. They're like, dude, I'm a millionaire, okay? Don't tell me what to do. And now you got 20 guys in the locker room. And remember, Julian Edelman out for the season. Dante Hightower out for the season. They're clients of this spiritual guru that works with Brady. And you got to just wonder, how much during the week is this consuming the team? You're trying to game plan for Buffalo off this lucky win over Pittsburgh. And now you got, whoa, I can't work with my trainer? I can't work with my guy. Greg, I've got some concerns about the Patriots going forward.
Yeah, I have concerns simply because when we look at the Patriots way, we don't hear them talking about anything other than football.
So it's weird.
This is not the norm. We do not hear anything coming out of Foxborough, out of that locker room, out of that organization that is not football related. And this is not football related. This is something in-house that they probably tried to deal with that got out. That's a whole nother issue, how this all got out. But the fact that it's multiple players and there is this divide, there's this tension between staff, like actual Patriot staff, and then this one-off that jumped on board late, that's problematic. If they're not seeing eye to eye, and to your point, once you start bad-mouthing the higher ups,
bad.
And Bill Belichick.
So let me get this right. We had Spygate. We had Deflategate.
There you go.
Now we have Caretakergate. Is that it? There's always something going on with Guru-gate. That's even better.
The interesting thing is this, and in light of our conversation earlier about Garoppolo, you could have, if this is really this bad, this could have been your way out of Brady.
There you go, yeah.
You could have been like, look, he influenced half of the locker room with this guru. Some of the players were injured. It wasn't working for them like it worked for Brady. He was bad-mouthing Belichick. We had to move on. I don't know if he worked with Garoppolo or not, but that could have been your way out where you wouldn't have caught as much heat. But this is really interesting.
Yeah, and I just think during the season, you usually don't make drastic changes like that. You know what guys are used to, their routines. So you just let it play out for the rest of the year. And then next year, offseason, hey, we're not letting guys bring their guys in, and then it's a fresh start.
Rob,
you got to make a new routine.
If this Patriots team does not get out of the AFC, there is only one guy to blame. That's Belichick. I mean, he traded away Garoppolo, and this team got old quickly.
Whoa,
the defense
I would go to blame for not winning. I mean, Pittsburgh's got the most talent.
You want me to go back? He traded Chandler Jones a few years ago. He traded Jamie Collins. He thinks he can control everything.
Just win a
make
Super Bowl
all the
last year.
decisions.
Jason.
This is one of the greatest comebacks ever.
So what? They won.
Oh, that was all Belichick.
Wait a minute.
Choke job. We'll play the choke job card.
So now we blame Bill Belichick for all these Super Bowls that he's been able to bring in-house.
Exactly.
So the moment it doesn't work out, it's Bill Belichick. This doesn't work.
Well, he just traded a franchise quarterback for a second round pick.
That may prove to be the wrong decision down the road. But this year, I don't think it's going to affect them because Garoppolo wasn't going to play this year. So he had that carries no weight right now.
Who do you blame, Greg, for them having the worst pass defense in the league, the worst run defense in the league? Bottom 5 in both categories. Who are you going to blame for that?
This is who
Belichick controls the roster.
This is who they are.
Exactly.
This is who they are. They're a bend, don't break defense. You can
They
drive
broke against Pittsburgh.
No, they didn't.
They got lucky. They got lucky. Oh,
I mean, trust me. Out of all the people on this panel right now, it was a catch, and
thank you, Greg. Thank you.
But having said that, they always find a way to shore themselves up defensively when it counts in the red zone. You can get all the way down the field into the red zone, and they give up 3 points. They don't always allow you to get in the end zone. That's what makes the difference. When Tom Brady gets the ball, he's going to put the ball in the end zone. They've always been able to overcome their shortcomings, and then in the playoffs, they really solidify even what their shortcomings and their weaknesses are to make sure that it gives them the better chance to win and be successful and bring that trophy back to Foxborough that Bill Belichick has continuously done time and time again, year after year after year.
Would Bill Belichick get rid of the guru if he had the defensive signals of the other team?
Rob, you love a good conspiracy theory, Rob.
Yeah,
I love it.
That guy around, a problem.
Are you tight with the guru or something?
Yeah, we're friends, actually. Yeah, I got his number. I'm as close with the guru as you are with LeVar Ball. I know you and LeVar Ball.
Can we have his number? Because I need to get his Christmas gift.
Yeah, we'll get a spiritual guru thing going on. No, I do not. I have no idea.
I was going to say, wow.
Don't sleep on Jacksonville.
Was so pro-guru.
He needs an appointment.
Just anti-Belichick. I'm over it. He's had a great run.
Jacksonville is your team.
Jacksonville is my team. I mean, do you want me to go on? They're the #1 red zone defense in the league.
Number one in sacks.
Is that your favorite?
I like Jacksonville going to the Super Bowl. Put it down, Chris.
No mercy.
Thanks for listening to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm Joy Taylor. We'll catch you again same time Monday morning at 9:30 Eastern. Have a great weekend.
Fox Sports 1 of 1.